So, should we? Oh, hang on. What episode is this?
I don't know.
No, neither do I.
It's
Okay.
15, I don't know, 16, 14,
Yes.
in the
Something
teens.
like that.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Still
Um,
not old enough to vote or drink, but probably in
yeah,
high
yeah.
school.
We're not old enough to get called. We're not old enough to get called up and sent away to shoot people either. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's
That
good.
too.
Yeah.
Um Although
So
we could be
hello.
totally wrong. We could be totally wrong. This could be 20 and we have no fucking clue. I don't know. It's
Yeah, absolutely. But hey, look, if you're listening, then yeah, you know what number it is, do
it's
you?
episode this one.
Yeah, absolutely. Welcome back to Old Bollocks. And what a typical Old Bollocks intro that is. A load of
Yeah.
old bollocks. Whilst two people try and decide what episode it is and can't remember, so give up.
Why are
Um,
intros so difficult to do? Like I've never been able to like successfully do an intro where I felt confident with it. I always feel like that's the most disjointed part of anything I've done. I don't know.
right. I mean, look, I'm the same. Although that's why I stick to that. My intro on Talking Bollocks is just stick to that. Just do what I do. Welcome, Patreon.
Yeah.
Next. So yeah. Anyway, fuck it. We've got some stuff to listen to, haven't we?
We do. I've got 5 albums to talk about
Me
today.
too. How weird is that?
And we're probably not going to overlap on anything, but you may talk about things that I've heard as well.
Yeah.
But so I guess we could just get moving.
Yeah. Let's get dig in because we've
'Cause
potentially got 10 albums to get through here.
that's what we do. We do well. You know what? I'm going to start us off with what's going to be probably the shortest review that I've ever done ever.
Right. Okay.
Because it doesn't need to be long. And I have everything I'm reviewing. I have my vinyl here for everything, so we're all
Oh
set
wow.
for the
Right. Okay.
podcast folks to not be able to see it.
Yes, that's right.
So,
Yeah.
all right, so you ready for my shortest review that I've ever done?
I can't wait.
Okay, this is the brand new album from Cannibal Corpse. It is called Chaos Horrific. Do you like Cannibal Corpse? You will like this album. Do you not like Cannibal Corpse? You're not going to like this album. That's my review.
Wow. Well, I do you know what? I know I know somebody who's got it, who's a fan of Cannibal Corpse, and and basically said, yeah, it is fucking horrific.
Oh, really? I mean, I think
Yeah.
it's great, but I'm a fan. So it's like,
So's he. No, so's he. And he's busily playing all their other albums.
that's weird because it
Make
sounds
sure he still
almost,
likes them
it
because it's
sounds very similar to their last couple albums. They really sort of stay in the same lane and do what they do, and if you're into it, you're into it, and that's really it.
yeah,
It's like there's nothing else to really say about it because it's like, but I guess for some people it might be different, but for me,
yeah.
I feel like it's just old reliable Cannibal Corpse. I know what I'm going to get and I enjoy it, and then I move on with my day. And that's really it.
Well, I'm gonna follow that up with a band who you know what you're getting. Haven't put an album out for a while, but for me, it's there's something different about it, and basically, it's the new Prong album, State of Emergency.
I've heard this one
Um,
too.
I've had this for many weeks, and I mean, I love it. I absolutely love it. Um, but I gotta say, um, this album, I mean, funnily enough, I said this to Tommy himself because Talking Bollocks came out today, folks.
Yeah, go
Um,
check it out.
and yeah, it honestly, for me, there are songs on this album that could be on any Prong album
Yeah.
from the last 20 years, and why I like this album so much is because there's great modern Prong on there,
Mhm.
and then there's like tracks on here that could have been on Beg to Differ, and it's weird because it's like each song you're like, okay, yeah, it's a familiarity, but it kind of not familiar, if you know what I mean. Like, I haven't heard Prong do stuff like this for a long time. So it's almost like they've reached into the catalogue and just really varied it, and just really and that's not how the album was written, but it's how it sounds. And so
Yeah.
very similarly to yourself, if to yourself, if you're a Prong fan, you're going to like this. If you're not a Prong fan, you're not going to like this. There's songs there's songs that could have been on all those other albums you don't like.
Yeah.
But I think it's fucking great. I think Prong are massively underrated. And yeah, this for me is a really good album.
I enjoy it, but like I enjoy it from the perspective of a Prong fan. I think in comparison, a lot of the stuff on this album doesn't make me as excited. The last couple albums have been that way, where there have been some songs that I thought were really strong, and other ones where I was just like, this is kind of same old, and doesn't really do anything for me. And in the case of this album, like I enjoy it, but I've got a weird pet peeve now that I don't like. I don't even know. I got to coin a term for it. Middle of the road, fist in the air lyrics, because it's like they're presented like we're making a statement, but the statement is something's bad. What is it? I don't know, but something is bad out there. We're not going to take sides. And I'm just like, if you write lyrics like that, just don't write those songs at all. At this point, from my point of view, I'm like, take a fucking side. What are you actually outraged about? Or what is this song really about? As opposed to these general phrases that are just lined up in a row, and that's the lyrics of the song. That's to me is a little bit aggravating, but I also hear it from the point of view of somebody else who's been in a band for such a fucking long time, and they're like, look, we're not here to cause a ruckus. We're just playing some heavy metal, and here's some aggressive lyrics. And so it's fine, but that's why I said it's a pet peeve, because it really doesn't fucking matter at the end of the day.
Well, I know what you mean, and I don't think Prong are one of those bands, but I do get what you mean.
Yeah, but other than that, it's a very enjoyable Prong record, and they're just one of those bands. They have their own thing, and if you have such a unique thing, just do your thing, because that's why we're here,
I totally agree. I mean, if you're a band and you've managed to create a sound that is you, then that's pretty much what we're all here for.
Yeah.
So let's have some more of that.
Absolutely. Cool.
Oh, good idea. Grab my water, which is a couple of feet away.
You grab your water bottle.
It is as well.
What?
It is a water bottle as well. And you know what? Stick my headphones in.
I was doing my best generic British accent right there. Is what I was doing.
It was not bad. It was pretty. Not as good as my generic American Generica. Hey y'all.
that's like Southern. That's not even America. You just say hamburger or something.
Hamburger.
There you go.
Yeah,
that's America.
That's Generica for you. That's the generic accent.
Let's and speaking of America, I realize that all of my stuff I'm talking about is American. I think somebody on your Patreon once commented that we only talk about American bands.
Yeah. Well, I think that was aimed at someone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I occasionally, we bring out some other bands occasionally, but I just picked the 5 albums I was the most excited to talk about. And I talked about Cannibal Corpse just because they're one of my favorite bands. I'm gonna stick to death metal here for this next one, and then I'm done with death metal. But this is a band that is for newer death metal is probably the biggest and most well known, one of the most well known. But I've been kind of on and off whether I was into them until the last couple albums, and this one's fucking great. The new Dying Fetus album, which
Right.
is
Okay.
called "Make Them Beg for Death," and it's their ninth album. It's quite a
And
nice.
they've really gone for some old school horror look, haven't they? With
Yeah,
the artwork. So, sorry, podcasters. I know this is
yeah.
annoying. Nip over to the Old Head YouTube channel and have a look at the shitty
Or
albums he holding up.
or just Google "Dying Fetus, Make Them Beg for Death." You can see the album cover right there.
You're right. You're right. Way ahead of me there, mate. Yeah.
But it's cool because they're pretty, they're not technically modern anymore because I think they started in the 90s, but still, compared to a lot of the ones you hear people talk about, they're more modern. And I think the reason that I've been so kind of removed from them is that for a really long time they were too modern, whereas it was a lot of like the clicky drum sound and an overuse of the unintelligible pig squealing type vocals that I just kind of
Yeah.
went, yeah, I get what you're going for, but this is not doing anything for me. But they've since kind of branched out from that, gotten way more technical and a little more adventurous with their songwriting to where now the songs actually kind of feel like songs. It's still some crazy shit going on and crazy vocals and stuff, but I can hear it. There's like there's a song craft happening now, and if you take that along with the cool guitar squealies and stuff every once in a while, and just the way that they put it all together now, I'm really into it. It's because it's just a lot of fun. It's like death metal done way more sort of with a foot in grindcore maybe, and technical stuff, but also it just seems like there's a level of fun in everything. Just the way the songs are performed and put together. It's like designed for metal fans to just keep going several times throughout each song. Ooh, like that kind of thing. It's like there's a lot
Yeah.
of that going on. Whether it's a really complicated, crazy riff or just a brutal breakdown part or whatever it is. I feel like they finally got me. They finally have
Right.
been putting out stuff where I just go, man, this is just so well done and so enjoyable. And all the little things that I didn't really like from back in the day are gone. The production is better. The drums aren't all clicky and shit, and the vocals are varied. And it's just they've really like gotten to a point now where they're. I think they've earned that legendary status because if you've converted a dude like me that's because I do get it. I am weird because like I like some real basic ass death metal, but sometimes people are too basic with it. And then I like some really chaotic stuff, but sometimes some of that all over the place death metal doesn't even feel like a song. It just feels like a collection of riffs that are just thrown together and that's the song. And they've found a way to sort of get in the middle of all that. And so it's only 38 minutes long. Boom. Perfect.
Right. Yeah. So,
So,
you sound like you've gone all in on that.
I love it. It's great. I was really surprised because I liked the last album, but I love this one. Like it was like each time they would release a single from it leading up to it, I was more on board every time. And so kudos to Dying Fetus.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Well, I have got some death metal
Sweet.
to come your way, but not for a while yet. So my next album is it's kind of weird because I'm sort of in, and I'll get on with it.
Okay.
There's a band called Eradicated. Okay, they're from Sweden. They're young.
Mhm.
This is their first album called Descendants, which is a brave title because there are 3 songs that you can see where they are directly descended from. One is directly descended from Metallica, one is directly descended from Slayer, and one is directly descended from Megadeth. But when they're not playing stuff where the influences are really obvious,
Mm-hmm.
they're a lot stronger. And so from a thrash album point of view, I I'm going to kind of give it like a 3 out of 5, but a bit like you were saying about Dying Fetus, except I expect these guys to get it together a lot quicker, like their next album.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of stuff on here where you're like, right, this is what Eradicated sound like. And then there's, like I said, there's three songs and there's other bits where you're like, guys, maybe somebody in the rehearsal room goes, yeah, we can't, that's too close to Slave. You can't do that, and I mean, one of the songs, one of the songs is called Blood Like Red. It's not called Blood Red. It's called Blood Like Red. And it's like, really? You may as well just call it like Blood Red.
It's been watered down a little bit, the blood.
Yeah.
I feel like I've listened. I feel like I've heard this album. What's the album called again?
Descendants.
Okay.
Yeah, you'd think with an album title like that, I'd be all over this shit.
Yeah.
But all in all, I'm giving it 3 out of 5 because I think there's great potential here. I really do. And I haven't really described it. It's this is not hardcore or edgy in any way. This is, if you like your thrash, like fucking straight ahead, I can reference all of the influences, decent vocals, not singing, but aggressive and melodic. But then, give it a shout, give it a go, definitely.
Yeah. I'm looking at their logo and I'm like, because I remember the spelling of Eradicated with the K and everything.
Yeah,
and I was like, I think that I've actually heard this, and I think I just listened to some of it once, but now I'm interested to go back because I'm all about these younger thrash bands just kind of finding their footing.
Yeah, and well, I did play the offending tracks on Radio Bollocks, but the thing is that those were the 3 tracks that jumped out at me on first listen because they were so familiar. It's like, oh right, okay, we're showing our influences here. But repeated listens, I actually skipped those 3 songs to kind of, the next few listens, just to really give them a fair go. And there's real potential there, and
Sweet.
And that's just me being picky as a member of a thrash band. I'm sure other people are going to listen to it and go like, wow, yeah, this is fucking awesome. So yeah, thrash, Eradicated, Descendants, worth a shout, definitely.
The Descendants spelled correctly.
I know.
Unlike the band, I always spell it the wrong way.
Looks wrong though. Yeah, but it looks wrong when it's spelled correctly. And when I saw it, I was like, well, why did they spell it like that?
Yeah, that's a weird thing that I'm never going to get rid of because I've been typing Descendants that way since I was a teenager. So it's just like
I couldn't have done this any better. I've actually got this is for viewers only, but I've actually got my official Descendants socks on.
Hey, nice.
And the weird thing is, right? The weird thing is that you've got Milo there, and I've got Milo on the other side, but I've also got the tattoo. So the socks are actually covering up the tattoo of the same design. I need to cut down on my Descendants merch, really, basically. Socks, fucking hell, get a grip.
We almost lost Milo there.
Yeah.
I mean, he said it was a mild heart attack, but still, it's a heart attack. Shit.
Yeah, but they're back on it, so let's just celebrate the fact he's still around.
Hell yeah! No, I'm there. If the strength of their last album is any indication, I'm ready for them to try to do something else. But they're out there touring. They're road dogs.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, it's not. We were talking about Descendants from Eradicated. That's what got us there. All the rest of mine are. It's 3 albums in a row that are difficult to explain from bands that a lot of people don't know.
Right. Okay. This should be interesting.
But they should know. This first one is a band out of Seattle, and this is their second album. The band is called Filth Is Eternal, and the album is called Find Out. And
right now, I like the band name and I like the album cover. Like this
Yeah.
is all that's like pushing buttons with me.
Yeah. So they are kind of like, this is the most general description that I can give. Take a hardcore band and merge them with a grunge band, but like grunge as in late '80s grunge, like actual grunge, not Pearl Jam. And But that also doesn't really explain it, because it's aggressive. It's got punky qualities. It's got just straight up just rock song kind of qualities to it, but it's not really that, it sounds like it would be all over the place, but it's not. It's just a sound that they have formed that just has these different elements that all happen kind of at the same time. And it's really, yeah, it's a tough one. I love it, but I really do think that there's a connection to hardcore and grunge or alternative or whatever you want to call it, and putting it together. But it is one of those albums where like the longest song is 3 minutes, and the rest of them, most of them are barely 2 minutes long. But
That's what the album cover said to me.
yeah, but they're
Yeah,
not.
which is black and white, by the way, for those of you listening.
Yeah, and they're not all like fast punky stuff. Like that's what I'm saying. It's really weird. There's a lot of different angles that they come at these songs with, but there's always this sort of really honest aggression that just comes across in the music, and I guess it helps with the production as well, because it just sounds urgent, and it sounds literally like an album that could have come out right now, or maybe around 1994. I mean, I don't know. It also pushes a lot of buttons for me too. But most I can say is just go check it out. Go find Filth Is Eternal and find out. And the album is called Find Out. So go find out about Filth Is Eternal. Because it's my description is not going to do it justice, but it is one that bears repeat listens, just because it really does sort of like give me something new every time. But it's not that complicated of an album. It's just sounds like something that not a lot of bands are doing in this particular way. And so it's a pretty exciting album. I love finding bands like this where I just go, they're fairly new and they're doing something that I'm like, man, this speaks to my heart, and I didn't even know that I wanted something like this, but they managed to do it. So it's a great one.
Right, cool. Well, I'm up for checking it out as well, because that sounds like I said, it's gonna push some of my buttons for sure.
Yeah.
And that, like, as soon as you held up that album cover, I was in.
Yeah.
I was in. So my death metal album. That's what I'm bringing to you now. Now, for those of you who are fans of Volbeat, like myself, your main man in Volbeat, has created his own kind of like genre, and he's always maintained his love for death metal, and so he has a side project. I keep calling the main man in Volbeat. His name has escaped me. I do apologize.
I don't know it, so.
So he's put this project together called Asinhell, and has put an album out called Impii Hora. Now, Impii is spelled Impii, Hora Hora. Now, I'm sure there's a real great meaning to that. I just haven't been bothered to look into it.
Yeah.
But what I can tell you is that, he's in interviews, he said like what a big fan of, Chuck's he was, and how like spiritual healing was like, a major influence on him, guitar playing, songwriting, all sorts. And as a fellow lover of those first three albums, especially Spiritual Healing, I fucking love this. He's
Okay.
absolutely
So
he's
it
nailed it.
so it sounds old
It's
school.
well, if you listen to Spiritual Healing, that sounds like it could have been released like last week. Do you know what I mean? You listen to the remaster and everything. It's sonically, it
Yeah.
still sounds fucking great.
Yeah.
Um, it, look, the nods to spiritual healing era death are plentiful, many, but all enjoyable. None of which make me go like, "Ooh, that's that's a bit weak." Or, no, and also it happens to be quite handy when you've managed to find a vocalist who can sound amazingly like Chuck as well.
And
It's
it's
not just the music.
is it the vocalist of Volbeat or
No,
no?
no. He's got a new guy. But it honestly, it's such high quality as you would expect from somebody who's achieved everything with Michael Poulsen. That's it. Who's achieved everything with that might just be a Danish footballer, but he's done everything he has with Volbeat, and now. Honestly, this is fucking high quality death metal that is unapologetic in its nods to death, but also there's a bits of Entombed in there, and it's not just. But I think it's at its best when it's doing the death spiritual healing era stuff. But I would, because I love that. But yeah, honestly, there is some grooves in here. I'm digging into it. I'm on my fourth or fifth listen, and it's getting stronger and stronger and stronger. At the moment, it could even end up in my top 5 of the year. There's a hell of a lot to like. There really, really is. So if you like any of the references I've talked about, it is really worth checking out.
The only reference I don't like is Volbeat, but everything else sounds good.
There's no Volbeat on this. That's for fucking sure. There may be. There's many beats, but there is not a Volbeat.
Yeah,
there's death metal beats, there's down beats, there's blast beats, but there's no Volbeat.
Yeah, good. I think I've seen this as well. I haven't listened to it, but the name, it's written where all the words are right next to each other, because I keep seeing it, and in my dumbass brain, I just keep thinking it says Anus Hell, and I'm just like, Anus Hell? That's a weird name for a band. Oh, it's Asinhell. Okay.
Yeah, Asinhell. Asinhell. I mean, however you want to say it, but it's. But like I said, high quality, man. High quality.
Sweet. I mean, as a death metal fan, I'll check that out, because I have no.
I knew you would as soon as I said Chuck era spiritual healing.
Oh yeah,
I knew you were putting it on your playlist as we speak.
Yeah, I mean, that's not even my favorite death era either, but I still love that stuff so much. But yes, I mean, I love all the. There's so many bands, younger bands these days, that are giving nods to that era of stuff anyway. So I'm not going to begrudge somebody just because they come from a band that I'm not really into. So I'm going to I'll give them a shot, because that sounds right up my alley.
I just think it's a really cool thing to do as well.
Yeah.
He's purely done it because this is something he's wanted to do. Because he's he said he's got hundreds of death metal demos. He started out, in death metal bands. So this is a real, this is a kind of real return to his youth, as it were. And done a fucking great job.
Hell yeah, awesome. Well, moving on to my next one that a lot of people don't know this band. This is actually a band I've been kind of singing their praises since their second album, which is like, I don't know, it had to have been like 2015 or 2016, I think it came out. But they're on their fifth album now, and they're a band they're from St. Louis, Missouri, called The Lion's Daughter. And this is their new album called Bathhouse. And they're an interesting band because they started off.
Can I just say at this point, if you're a podcast listener, this is a good moment, because this album cover is shit.
I love it. They always have the fucking weirdest album covers.
That is just actually, it's not. No, do you know what? It's not shit. It's repulsive. There you go.
Repulsive, yeah.
Yeah.
But they started out and they were kind of like a merge between like sludge metal and black metal, where it had elements of both of those things, and it was kind of an odd mixture. And then little by little, they started to incorporate keyboards that sound like 80s horror movie synth type stuff. And then their music slowly started to branch out where it got a little bit more not so focused on just being metal all the time. And each album has sort of progressed in this way where the songwriting kind of opens up. And finally, they've gotten to the point where a lot of it, the guy is actually singing, and he's doing the thing I like, where he is managing to go between this sort of aggressive, growly stuff and then singing, but it doesn't sound. It sounds like the same guy. It doesn't sound like an abrupt switch. And sometimes one song is just all singing, and another song is all yelling or whatever. But the synths are fully there. It just sounds like a horror movie metal through the eyes of like some sort of post-hardcore person. I don't know. It's like, it's really weird because there are elements in there where I go, that's not very metal of them to do this. So it's almost like they're it's like so many bands. I think that this is happening with a lot of bands where eventually so many elements get incorporated and you start becoming this weird amalgamation of everything to the point where if somebody like me is sitting here trying to talk about what you sound like, I'm just like, I don't really know because they're not playing by the rules. I can't just say this is death metal or this is sludge or this is grindcore or whatever the fuck it is. But it's a really cool album because it's not long, but also it's got tons of hooks. I'm gonna keep that right there for you. It's just like a really hooky, but yet heavy and creepy, vibey kind of metal album. And once again, they are just a band that are doing something where I go, I don't think anybody sounds like this band. And unfortunately, they don't get enough attention. I see that they have stuff come out and then it kind of just fades out. And I go, why is nobody talking about The Lion's Daughter? Like that there's all these bands that just do the same shit over and over again. And everyone's like, oh, have you heard this? And I'm like, I've heard it, but did you hear Bathhouse by The Lion's Daughter with this amazing artwork that Howard loves so much?
Yes, yeah, very much so, yeah.
But yeah, it's very cool. I don't know if you would be into it necessarily, but you'd probably understand some of the things that I'm saying. Where it just sounds like creepy metal, but at the same time, it's oddly catchy.
Yeah.
So,
right.
Yeah.
That sounds weird as hell.
Yeah. I mean, once you hear it, I think that you'll click with something where you'll go, yeah. I get what they're doing. But then if somebody asks you what they're doing, you're going to be like, fuck, I don't know.
Oh, mate, you really backed yourself into a corner trying to review that, didn't you?
Yeah. Well, that's like, even the next one I'm going to talk about is a band where I have ideas of what they're doing, but it just gets it's so difficult for me because my brain wants to connect things in a simple way for everybody, but then I immediately sabotage that in my own brain and go, no, that's not what it sounds like. So,
right.
Some would say I shouldn't be reviewing albums at all. So,
oh, mate, you'll always find somebody who'll be saying that you shouldn't be doing something that you are doing.
Yeah.
So, I'm gonna right. This is weird because like the Prong episode of Talking Bollocks came out today. We're recording this on Monday, the 16th of October.
Uh-huh.
And after this, I'm jumping on a Zoom with Igor Cavaliera. Now that's Max's son, not his brother.
Okay.
Because there's a new.
So he's not Igor Jr. because he's Max's son, Igor.
Yeah.
That is.
And it's spelt with one G, whereas Igor, Max's brother, is two
Oh.
G's. Yo, G.
Okay.
One less G.
Got it.
Yeah. So Max and Igor formed a band, Go Ahead and Die, and recorded the last album like in the desert in a shack towards the end of lockdown. And I did an interview with them both, and it was great, but there was no kind of hint that there was more to come. But there is a new album. The new album, Go Ahead and Die, is called Unhealthy. Now, I've gone through this about 3 times now, and a bit like Prong, there's bits of Max's career all over this. There is stuff that could be on the stuff that could be on a Nail Bomb album. There's stuff that could be on early Sepultura. Not much that feels kind of soulfly, really. But it genuinely feels like Max has found a place with this to basically do whatever he wants. So do you know what I mean? It's like, you know, when you're creating a body of work for an album, you want a theme, you want it to flow, etc., etc. Whereas it's got that Nail Bomb feeling of like what's coming next. You know, there's loads of samples all over it as well. By that I mean samples of news footage and clips from movies. Quite often at the beginning of songs, it happens quite a lot. I'm going to ask him later on, you know, what that's all about. But it just adds to that kind of old school vibe, and the production is rough. You know, it's not you know, it's not kind of like old school rough. Don't get me wrong, you know, but it's more sort of the quality of the Cavaliera recordings of the early Sepultura albums.
Got it. Okay.
It's more nodding to that, but maybe not quite as clean, a bit more punky than that. Yeah. So again, I'm going to reference Nail Bomb as a bit of an updated version of that again. But like I said, it really does come across as like Max is just willing to go like anywhere on this album. So you could have something that is like sort of Sepultura-esque, that's like, you know, 4 minutes, and that'll be followed by like something that's 90 seconds and is like pure punk.
Yeah.
You know, it's great. And I love that kind of freedom about it. And it, you know, it sounds like they just fucking went for it. Yeah. You know, it really does. And it's not often that you kind of hear anything like that anymore. And if you want to hear anything like that, then Max is going to be the man who's going to produce it.
I'm curious. I haven't heard that one yet. I wasn't into the first one they did, but I also didn't listen to the full album. I just didn't like the pre-songs that came out. Right. This one, I don't think I've heard anything from. But I'd be curious when you do your interview of 2 things. Number one, like, is Igor a songwriter, or is it Max doing stuff? But also, I wonder if they're approaching it similarly, because I interviewed Alex Newport, and we talked about.
I saw that, yeah.
We talked about Nail Bomb, and he was saying that the idea of the project was they weren't going to overthink anything. Like, they just quickly wrote those songs, and whatever came out, whatever idea they came out, and whatever they added, that was the song, and then they recorded it, and that's how they put it together. And sometimes that produces some really cool shit, and so maybe they're approaching it the same way, and that sounds fun. Like, that's the kind of thing that if I had the means to do it, like if I just had a fucking studio, I'd just be like, let's just spend a weekend and just see what we come up with, and then put it out. You know.
Well, do you know what? Do you know what I like about it? The fact that you see all sorts of 2-minute clips of like Rockstar dad and son playing a song together at home in the garage or something like that, and they put it out on social media and think it's fucking great. Max doesn't do any of that shit. He just goes off and records a couple of albums with his fucking son. Do you know what I mean? It's like, Yeah, this is completely different level.
And also,
I know.
he toured for a while with, I don't know who in that the band Insight. I don't know if
Mm,
that's his older son that's in that band or something, because I remember like that's a band that's been around for a little while, but that's also one of Max's. I think it's one of his sons is in Insight. Um, but I mean, I love that about Max, that he literally is just like, hey, my kids want to do music, I'm gonna help them out. I'm like, fuck yeah, that's like dad of the year shit right there, you know?
absolutely, absolutely. And I mean, I know it depends how this album was recorded, but yes, Igor was a writer
Okay.
on the first album. But again, it be because one of the things I'm keen to get into is because the circumstances were so bizarre and extreme recording that first album. How do you kind of like then take a project that was born in a place like that and take it into a studio? You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
just kind of like, right. But anyway, find out hopefully, unless I forget to ask them any of those questions.
Just remember me asking who how did they write it? Was it quickly, and did Igor do any? So I don't know. Um, cool. I'm actually that's one I'm actually been meaning to go check out because I'm a fan of pretty much everything Max does.
Yeah,
I at least enjoy it if not love it. Um,
exactly. So you got to love
so
it.
yeah. So on to my last one, which is an album that actually came out in July, but and it's their third album, but I had never heard of this band before about a month ago, a little over a month ago, maybe. And
Okay.
they it's one of those things where I heard a couple tracks from it and immediately went and ordered this and their previous album because I was just like, holy shit.
Wow.
They're a band from Brooklyn, New York called Somnuri, and the album's called Desiderium. I'm not really sure what that means. If there's anything
Okay.
that we get from metal bands, it's learning new words, huh?
Yeah, and shit artwork.
Is this also shit artwork?
It
No,
just
I
yeah, it
like
looks a
it.
bit movie. It looks a bit movie of the week, if you ask me.
I like the colors, but you know. Anyway, so it's woo. Okay.
Full on woo.
It's actually take the very beginning, take the first Mastodon album and last Mastodon album, and put those sounds together. Add some Soundgarden in there.
Right.
Also make it even heavier. Not probably not heavier than the first Mastodon, but it's a way bigger, heavier, thicker sound,
Yeah.
and a little bit of progginess in there, just enough to feel like maybe you're on a journey a little bit. But it also goes from sort of aggressively shouted vocals to very beautifully sung, like beautiful in a Chris Cornell kind of way, not in like an opera
Oh,
kind
right.
of way.
Okay. Yeah.
But it's real epic sounding stuff. But once again, it is a combination of things where I occasionally think of Mastodon, but I find myself thinking of completely different eras of Mastodon depending on what part of the song I'm in.
Right.
Um, so it's got that wherever, you know, because Mastodon came kind of out of that sludge metal kind of thing. And it's got that in there, but it's real epic sounding, but they're not really long songs. Once again, there's a real attention to songcraft and hooks in all of the stuff. Um, but it's all heavy. It's just heavy the whole fucking time. But it's really cool because it's kind of in the vein of shit that I just really like, where I love stuff to be heavy, but I like there to be hooks. I like there to be cool riffs. I like there to be surprises in the songwriting where I go, oh, this is not exactly where I expected this to go. They got all that shit in here. And it's pretty impressive, really, because I mean, I guess it is their third album, but you know, when I first heard it, I was like, is this a band that's been around for like 20 years? Because it sounds like they've really put the work in for coming up with their songs and their sound. Um, It's very well done. Very well done album. If any of those words I said appeal to you, go and check out Somnuri.
Yeah, well, funnily you should say that because the name for some reason I was just kind of like, like that's a really cool name. And I was wondering if if it was a word of some kind or anything like that.
No
But
idea.
no, Somnuris, that's it. That's it.
Yeah,
They've created a word there.
and I'm possibly saying it wrong. Who knows?
Well, I like the way you say it, so I'm going to say it that way as well.
Somnuri. But
Yeah.
I was very surprised. And you know me, I love getting surprised by new shit that I didn't know.
Yeah.
And I am one of those obsessive people that if you hit me with some shit that I love, you will get my money. so so yeah. Yeah,
I'm pleased for you, man. Yeah, and that again, that sounds like something that I'm going to have to check out as well.
Yeah, it's I think that one you'd probably be into because it really does have it's really well done.
Cool, man. Cool. Right. Well, this could not be more different to what you've just described there. This is the new album from a band called Capra, Capra. The album is called Errors. There are 10 songs, the longest of which is 3 minutes and 33 seconds. Mm-hmm. They're all around the 2.5, 3 minute mark. It's kind of modern, hardcore, female vocalist who's fucking great. The truth is, I'm not sure where I am with it at the moment. I'm finding it kind of impenetrable, which is also kind of annoying me because I think it's good, but yeah. I'm finding it difficult to go back to, and there's other stuff I'd rather play. Mm-hmm. I realize this is not a ringing endorsement, but it's kind of got that, and I don't want to say the word modern because it just implies that it's like, oh, I'm an old man, it's modern music, I don't like it. That's not the case at all. But I don't know, abrasive is the word I'm looking for. It's like it's hookless punk.
I think that I've actually heard this one too. And when you're with hardcore music in general, I love that you use the word impenetrable because some of those things, that's exactly what happens with me, where I'll start listening to it and I'll hear some things I like, but then I'll hit some kind of a wall where I go, I'm gonna go listen to something else. Like it just sometimes it's too abrasive and too brick walled to really appeal to me because I love I don't know, I love what's the word I'm looking for? Dynamics. I love dynamics. And
I was gonna say animals.
Well, I love animals as well, but some hardcore music just feels like there's not a lot of dynamics going on, and just because you have a fucking breakdown, that does not equal dynamics. But anyway.
A breakdown that feels like it's kicking you in the head.
Yeah.
Instead of a breakdown, it's like at the beginning of the album, you're like, "Ooh, yeah, fucking hell, yeah," and then those breakdowns come in towards the end, and you're like, "Will you stop kicking me?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bad enough.
Yeah. But hey, check it out, guys. I mean, it's good quality. Maybe it's me. I am going to try and get back to it more. I have a feeling I won't, but I am going to try and get back to it more because I was looking forward to hearing it. I think the truth is, I heard 2 songs, and I was like, yeah, okay, like this is good. I like this.
Yeah.
But then to get 10 songs that are like that, I'm just struggling a bit. I mean, and the album's less than half an hour, for fuck's sake. There's 10 songs, and it's less than half an hour. And and by the end of it, I'm still going, oh, okay, I'm hanging in here, but only just.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, less than half an hour of getting hit over the head with a hammer is too long,
True. But I genuinely don't want to sound like I'm slagging them off. It's one of those, it's one of those It's not them, it's me.
Yeah. No, that's where I am with a lot of hardcore music, because I hear it and I just go, man, I know that this is really doing it for somebody out there. And it's just not, some of it is for me, but a lot of it is not. And it's a weird that's why I like the hardcore bands that are sort of branching off are the ones that I'm latching on to, because I'm like, oh, okay. I feel like I can join the party now a little bit. It's like with fucking what's their name? The hardcore band of the day. Everybody loves them. We reviewed their album. God damn it.
Oh
Turnstile.
God, really? Oh right,
Turnstile.
okay, yeah, yeah.
Turnstile have gone somewhere totally different, but still
Oh yeah.
maintaining a little bit of that hardcore thing. But it's enough to where I go, hey guys, can I join in now too? Because like
Yeah.
I get it now.
There's a band out there at the moment that remind me of these guys, and it's a hardcore band with a female vocalist, and they get like loads of attention. They've done like major tours and everything else. And I'm just like, I can't get to a fourth song on that album, because it's just like, Jesus fucking Christ, will you stop shouting at me?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like I know how old man that sounds, but I'm like, I can get into any kind of fucking aggressive vocals and all the rest of it. Yeah,
I mean,
but it's just there's just that little bit of musicality that's missing. That just it makes it a little bit more difficult to listen to for me.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to know the my true old man thing recently was that my wife and I went to a show here in Houston where it was like pretty much all death metal bands, but they're death metal bands that are a little hardcore tinged, and so you can't stand anywhere near the stage because it's all people doing karate kicks and all this other shit. And my wife and I are just off to the side, and I'm just like, okay, I feel old. This is because I'm just like, why are these fucking kids doing this shit?
Yeah, you see, you need to go see some legacy death metal bands and just get down the front and headbang like everyone else.
Oh yeah, trust me. Like that's the thing. Going to see, that's what, a couple times I saw Carcass recently. It's just a bunch of old fucks like me, and we're all just like doing this, holding a beer or whatever. I'm like, yeah, that's how you do it.
Absolutely. Well, funnily enough, I had a great experience a couple of nights ago. I went to see the Fierce and the Dead, whose album I think we reviewed on the last Old Bollocks.
We did, yeah.
I this is a horrible admission. During the gig, I realised that I hadn't been to a packed little club gig as a purely as a punter.
Yeah.
I mean, I was going to go down early and do and have a little bit of a follow-up chat, but the day got stacked up and I couldn't make it, so I just rocked up later. And I was stood right between the PA, right dead center stage, small venue, and I couldn't move if I'd wanted to. I was absolutely just dialed in to the music, the vibe, the performance. And while I was watching in my head, I was just like, why does this feel like so long since I've done something like this? And I thought, I don't think I've been to a gig like this since the pandemic.
Yeah.
It's like, I've done gigs like this. I've done loads of gigs like this since the pandemic. I've done 2 tours since the pandemic, but I haven't experienced it as a punter. And it was like, fuck me, I've missed this. I've really missed this, And I thought, yeah, it's ages since I've been to the Camden Underworld to see anybody. And so, there just hasn't been anybody coming round that I've wanted to see. Yeah. So yeah, I'm making an effort to get to some smaller gigs.
Yeah.
And it was just awesome, man. It was absolutely awesome.
Great.
And they were great. And it was a great show. And it just, because they are kind of like, they've been going for years, but they're not necessarily a professional band. So they just, put albums out when they can. And so the gig was sold out before the album came out. And so it was that whole meeting of old friends vibe.
Yeah.
It was really was like, this is just a large room where I think everybody actually knows the band. And it was just great. It was
That's awesome.
absolutely great. Yeah, it was a house party of a gig. Absolutely
Yeah,
fucking loved it.
those are great.
Yeah.
But before we go, I know that you got to get out because you got interviews to do and stuff. But before we go, speaking of gigs, and one that I wish I could have gone to, but I didn't. You guys recently did that I don't know if it was it called a festival gig.
Yeah, it was kind of two all dayers basically. It was a new school thrash metal in one venue in Glasgow, the Audio. That was new school, and then old school in the evening in another venue where it was Lawnmower Death, Slammer, Centrix, and us.
I couldn't have made that lineup better. Like that's a dream lineup for me right there. Just being able to go see all four of those bands. That had to have been an absolute blast. And I am sad that over here in America we don't appreciate you guys enough to like give you the money to come over here.
Oh, bless, mate. Me too. Fuck you guys. Each band had an hour set, every band, went down great. It was a really, really cool night, it was kind of weird as well because I didn't know I was going to do this, but I asked the question, right, who's seen us before? And it's like, majority of the crowd is Glasgow, we sell Glasgow out on our own, and not the venue we played, by the way, and big cheer. It's like, great. I said, right, and who's never seen us before? And there was a decently like big. I was like, fucking hell, right, okay, wow. Every thrash band in the UK has not already seen us. I don't mean it like that, but it's just kind of like, if you're into these bands, like we've all played together, you've probably seen. Oh, you haven't? Okay, fair enough. But yeah, it was a really cool night. Had a great laugh. I think I sent you the intro we were going to use, which we did end up using, which is basically like a drunken Hetfield. It's a Scottish friend of mine using AI to create a bespoke intro for us as if it was James Hetfield, but because he's got a Scottish accent, it ended up sounding like a drunk James Hetfield. Which was great. Yeah, it really was. It really was. But it's a great night, man. It was a great night. I wish you could have been there.
Yeah, that is like, well, I mean, I love Lawnmower Death, but aside from that, that's like pretty much my top 3 favorite UK thrash bands, all right there. So that was there
you go, man. There you go. Well, hey, look, what a place to leave it. You're on your disappointment.
That's all right. There's footage online. I randomly watched footage, so I've pretended I was there. So
cool. Glad to hear it, man. Glad to hear it. Well, look, everybody, lovely to chat to you again. We love doing this. Sorry, it's been a little bit long, but we've both been busy, and hence you got 10 albums out of this episode instead.
Oh, yeah. We were very efficient too.
Yeah, I know. I think we've nailed this in about an hour, and we've done 10 albums. I think that's pretty impressive.
Yeah. No.
But you got it off to a great start, though. Them? You like it. Don't like them, you won't like them. Next, over to you.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that. Cool.
All right, well,
see you later, guys.
Been a blast as always. Bye, everyone.
Yeah, see you, everybody. Sorry, I just cut us off a little bit early there, didn't I? Really?
That's all right. We'll do it now.
Lovely to see you guys. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you for listening, obviously. And back again soon, I reckon. Yeah.
Bye.